Could I be a world 100-meter champion next summer? Extremely unlikely. But it's not such a ridiculous thought that I could go to the World Masters Athletics Championships in Toronto next summer and compete in the 40 to 44 age category. I've got a teammate who's competed in, or a couple of teammates who've competed in world championships, and one of them has encouraged me to aim high, to aim for it myself. So I'm just going to talk you through that and some wider stats about my 100-meter journey. So when I started, I was extremely ambitious. I was 36 years old. I still thought it was possible to go under 11 seconds. That was like my ultimate ambition. So I thought I'd be fairly close to 12 with a few months of training and then just gradually progress from there. And if we look at the next chart, looking towards the top, worst expectations. So being realistic, in a proper race with electronic timing, it was going to be difficult to go under 13 seconds initially. And then it's going to take maybe close to 2 years to get under 12, and then just a gradual progression beyond that. By the way, this isn't particularly scientific. This is just a sort of rough linear progression in retrospect of what I might have been able to do. So pictures popped up. Toronto 2020. So I've put that about 30 months into my serious training. So I mean, it was the end of 2015 that I first tried sprint training, but I've had quite a few gaps, and in particular between about mid 2016 and early 2018, I took a very big gap with hardly any training actually at the track. Well, there's a whole year I didn't go to the track. So when I say serious training, it's dedicated training at the track. So with Toronto, the World Masters Championships outdoors are every 2 years. So I've gone back to the results for 2018 in Malaga to see what sort of times you needed for the 100 meters. First of all, to qualify for the semi-finals, you'd need 11.80 or less. And I don't think I'd want to go to the event unless I at least had a good chance of getting through the heats into the semi-finals. To be able to have competed in the semi-finals in a World Championships is pretty awesome, I think. And actually, although it's a long way to go, my sister and her family live in Canada, so I could combine the trips, and that would be fun. So I'd seriously consider it. And then big jump to qualify for the final, I'd need an 11.34. To get a bronze medal, it's 11.18, and for a gold medal, 11.08. So that's those are all something to aim for. But what's the reality of my race times, and specifically my electronically timed race times? My very first race in spring 2016, I think it was quite a chilly evening. I was running into the wind. Didn't have blocks, but still I thought I'd been running reps in the 12s in training, not so far off the fastest guys. So I thought at the minimum I'd go under 13 and maybe even get close to 12. So what happened? 13.18. I was pretty devastated, to be honest. And the guy who I think I came second, but the guy who won, I think he got 12.2, like 12.24, something like that. He just seemed such a long way ahead, and he was actually a year older than me. So anyway, that was my first race. I did actually get a 12.5 in my next race, but like I say, I'm only including electronically timed. So moving on, as I said before, I had that big gap where I didn't train, and then I got back into it in 2018, and took me a while to get into it. But my first electronically timed race was towards the end of the season. I got a 12.38, and that was into a headwind, and I was pretty tired. So in terms of those worst and best expectations, at least I was sort of just into the envelope of expectations, if you like, with that. And I think my fastest that season, not electronically timed, was 12.3. Then it was the winter. So with the cold British winter, you can't always keep that peak speed going. But I trained quite hard over the winter. And early the next season, I did an open event, and I was in reasonable form, although I don't think I'd actually trained for a couple of weeks, but I'd built up that winter training, and I think I had a reasonable race. It was slightly windy, and it was just slightly over the legal limit, but my time was 12.14. So that felt like a breakthrough, because I was now very close to 12 seconds. And it was looking good for the season. I mean, yes, I'm now outside of that envelope again, but I had the whole season to improve, and I really thought I'd get under 12 that season. And the next race that wasn't in atrocious conditions, I got a 12.1, and I don't think that was wind assisted or anything. That's the one that I've got on video on the channel. Actually, the 12.38 is on the channel as well. So anyway, yeah, I got the 12.1, and I thought the next open event I was going to get under 12, but I got a strained hamstring, or I already had a strained hamstring, but it just got a lot worse, and I could not sprint for 2 or 3 months, and since then I've gradually been getting back into it. The best I've done is a couple of months ago. I did an open event and I got a 12.59. So on the one hand, that's a lot slower, but on the other hand, seeing as I just hadn't been training close to 100% for months, then it's actually not such a bad time, really. I kind of feel like I should be able to go a second quicker than that. So the question is, what happens now? I'd say that now I'm just about back to 100% training. So if we count from now to the end of next July, that's about 9 months. That takes us to Toronto. So if I got back on track with the sort of progression indicated here, actually I should have been using the cursor really. So so if I got back on track with this worst expectations, in theory that could take me well inside the time that I'd need to qualify for the semis at the World Championships. So on the one hand, you can't really expect to keep improving in a linear way, especially if you're getting older. So really, it's going to sort of curve, which I've sort of added a bit to the graphs anyway. But on the other hand, I feel like I'm due a breakthrough. There's stuff to do with my start and my drive phase that I really think I could improve a lot, and I've learned a lot the last few months. Just because I haven't been training doesn't mean I haven't been improving in my head, if you like. So I mean, you've only got to put in 10% more effort in the acceleration phase and convert that into speed, and taking 10% off your time is a lot. Like if you can maintain that. So if I took 10% off 12.1, that would be sub 11 seconds, which is ridiculous. So I'm going to be optimistic and hope that I can get well inside 12. But who knows? As part of the excitement of it, you never know. You might get a big breakthrough. You might smash your time down by 0.5 of a second, and then life gets a lot more exciting. If you get to compete properly in World Championships, that's pretty exciting. So that's about it for today. It's a bit experimental with the webcam and everything, and just sort of talking off the top of my head. It's a bit all about me really, my times and my quest for glory. Actually, most of the time I just want to enjoy sprinting really. It's a fun hobby. But it's good to have a part of you that's a bit more ambitious. So that's what I've shown you in this video. I hope that was interesting. Catch you soon.